Around 100 years ago, one of the most iconic psychologists of all time, Carl Jung, came up with an interesting theory that we are all unique as human beings. And the way for each and every one of us to reach that uniqueness, that point of authenticity, is through the process of individuation, which is integrating our shadow. The thing he called the shadow is the set of the darkest, animalistic, and unjustified impulses that we feel from time to time. Like, for example, when someone upsets you and you just want to beat them up really badly, to injure them really badly. These animalistic impulses that are not necessarily our fault, but they arise from time to time. Now, did he mean to actually indulge into them and to actually smash someone's face when they piss you off? No, absolutely not. What he meant by this is to integrate them internally and to basically not to run away from them anymore, to just accept them as being a part of you because they are, and that's what makes you unique. That's the way to reach your best self, your ultimate self, your authentic self. And people oftentimes think that when you want to reach the best version of you, it has to be all about good emotions. Bad emotions, get out of here. Negativity, get out of here. But it's not really like that. We have to accept everything about us, including the bad things, the negative emotions. But we have to manage them. We can't just let them out of control all the time. We have to manage them, accept them, and then direct them properly, make use of them. I recently watched an animated series called Berserk, and oh my god, it was so profound, so many psychological and philosophical insights there. Now, of course, animated series have kind of a bad reputation because some of them are really silly, but some of them are really, really profound, and this one was definitely extremely profound. And the author is a genius. The two main characters he created illustrate Jung's shadow perfectly, where both of them go through horrible life experiences, they go through a lot of pain, but one of them chooses to integrate his shadow and he becomes the ultimate self, where the other one just focuses on his goals and completely ignores his negative and his demonic impulses, and he ends up a villain. And just like that, we have the protagonist and the antagonist, and they just do what the protagonist and antagonist do in every single fictional story. But it's a very, very good illustration, although extreme, of how integrating your shadow and running away from it can influence your life. And this is not just fiction, this happens in the real world all the time. I believe some of these criminals that you hear about doing all sorts of horrific events in reality, they are the ones that run away from their shadows. And the ones that actually manage to integrate their shadows, they become the best, the most successful persons. Even if you audit history and you look at the most successful artists or philosophers, oftentimes they went through horrible events, very painful losses. And that's why they managed to direct their shadow and integrate it properly and make use of it to become this great person, this very successful individual. When you feel anger or sadness or some negative, strong emotion like this, if you really take a moment to focus on it, you can sense a part of your body where there is something weird. Something feels weird in a certain part of your body. It might be your chest or your belly or even below it. So that's basically energy, because these emotions are very, very strong and they create a lot of energy. And this energy has to be released somehow, because if it's repressed, it will just gather up and keep ticking just like a bomb and just explode all of a sudden sometime. And you don't really want to do that, because you will just lose control over yourself when that happens. If you don't integrate your shadow and these negative emotions, they will take control over you when you least expect it. And again, you don't want to do that. There is also this famous saying of Carl Jung's that until you make your subconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So in the same way you already know you have to take care of your chimp, of your lizard brain, you also have to take care of these impulses and of your shadow. And you can't ignore them, that's the thing. They will always be there with you. No matter what you do, you will always keep feeling this. So the only way to actually get on the good path and to become a successful person and to have a good experience alive, not necessarily just be successful, but to feel good, right? And to be a good citizen, you have to integrate them and you have to manage them properly. So as an action step, you could do this right now actually. You could take a moment and think about a painful memory you have, whether it whether it made you angry at the time or sad or frustrated or envious, whatever negative emotion. So take a moment and then try to figure out where exactly in your body do you feel something arising, your energy being created. And then when you manage to tap into that, you can just direct it somewhere else. You could just focus on it and manually direct it into a different pursuit. For example, you could focus on that and direct your energy into your muscles and become stronger for a while, for a short while. Nothing crazy, but it does help. Your shadow is only a liability if you keep ignoring it. But if you manage to integrate it and direct that energy properly, it becomes such a leverage. Personally, I believe anger is kind of in my shadow because I oftentimes repress it. I don't really think it's a very useful emotion in most cases, and I don't think it's a very noble way to act. As I think Seneca said something like, anger is just temporary madness. So I just kept living under that umbrella for a long time. But I can also direct my anger properly when I really need it, when I really want it. An ideal point to get into in life is to not be triggered at all. But even when you won't be triggered, you will still feel anger and sadness and these negative emotions from time to time. So you can't really escape them, no matter how much inner work you go through. They will always be there. And someone left a very nice comment under one of my videos saying something like, a very good way to live life is to be okay with all emotions. So not to only desire the good emotions, but to accept the negative ones as well. And that's just a nice completion to my point right here. That's a very good ideal to get to in life, where you accept your negative emotions completely, and when you don't try to run away from them anymore. When anger comes, you accept it wholeheartedly. Maybe you even express it from time to time, because they are not bad. In a vacuum, those emotions are not bad. They are there for a reason. They point some important data to us. So the goal is not to erase them, all these negative emotions, and to ignore our shadow, but rather to handle it. That's the wise way of approaching the situation, to handle it, to manage it properly. People who ignore their shadows, as I said, become criminals or losers. But my hope is that if you watch content like this, you are not one of them and you want the best for your life. You are more of a high achiever type of person. So you have to really take your shadow into account and to stop ignoring what feels bad. Because when you do that, it doesn't feel so bad anymore, and it's much better. And you reach that point where you tap into your authenticity more and more and more, and you start feeling better and better and better. So I hope that my understanding of this concept of the shadow really can serve as some value for you too.